What is up, wrestling fans? Welcome to the annual tier list rankings episode of the Smark Moment Smack Talk podcast. I'm your host, as always, Tony Mango, joined as always by Callum Wiggins.
Hello.
And Robert DeFelice.
Hey.
We are on our second attempt at recording this. It didn't work the first time around, but we are doing our annual tier list as we normally do around that September-October time for the season premieres. It is currently WWE Week is what they're calling it, so we figured now would be a good time to knock these out. But if you don't know what the tier list rankings are all about, it's pretty self-explanatory. What we do every year is we have so many different lists all throughout the different, elements of the year, like the Royal Rumble statistics and the annual end of the year awards and everything like that. But when we come to ranking the rosters, we like to keep it around the same time, and we will separate these into 4 separate videos. This one is going to be the AEW women's roster. There will be one for the AEW men's roster, one for the men's and women's rosters on WWE. They'll be combined in some fashion on the audio-only streams, so whether they're separate as 4 ones or if they're 2 podcasts, whatever it is, you'll see it on the description. But we are going to talk about the PWI list on our hot tags. Instead, we have a different setup of how we do this. So we have our S tier through our F tier. We have a no opinions column. It's all pretty straightforward. And of course, we have done these in the past. So if you're curious how people have gone up or down over the years, go back and check out the 2023 and 2022 lists. And keep in mind, too, that we always want to know what you have to say, so drop your thoughts in the comment section below. If you are over there on YouTube, make sure you click on that like button as well. Helps us out quite a bit. Make sure you also click on the notification bell for those email alerts when we go live for videos. If you want to help us out on the monetary side of things, the thanks button is a great way to do that. Same as the super chats for the live discussions and the join button, which gives you access to the Darkcast tier, the Pick Your Poison tier, and all those good things that you would also see on Patreon. If you want merchandise, Redbubble and TeePublic is where you can get that. There are other ways that you can leave your comments. You can also hop on over to our Discord server. You can leave comments on Facebook, on Twitter. You can go to smarkmma.com to the discuss comment section. Put that comment over on there's blocks there. And, the usual setup that we have. If you want something to be done on the Pick Your Poison tier, as we mentioned before about that, then you can kind of roll on this discussion and tell us to continue in some fashion or do something completely different. It doesn't have to be this. But the tier list thing is something that I know a lot of other people want us to do other types of tier lists, so keep that in mind. But yeah, this is our annual tier list thing, and we've got our normal breakdown that I will show in a moment when we switch this over, and you should be able to see it up on your screen now on YouTube. Obviously, if you are audio only, then that is not the case. You can't see it unless you got some superpower. So this is our AEW men's roster. That's not the right one that we're doing here. This is the women's one. I switched that over for a different reason. So we didn't, in our previous set of recording, we didn't actually get to do any of this yet. We noticed that it was botched from the intro. So we are going fresh into this, not having discussed it before, but some of these names are carryovers from last year or previous years before that. And we've got, I believe it's like 48 names or so. It's 45 names on this breakdown of the All Elite Wrestling and the Ring of Honor women that are at least most frequently positioned. Now, of course, they do bring people in for guest spots once in a while, and some of these people haven't really been seen all that much, and some of them are inactive right now. Keep all that in mind, that that's going to factor into some other things, like, for somebody like a one-shot person, then we don't really keep track of them. And people that are missing in action at this current moment, maybe they've done enough things over the past year that we can still rank them, because it is kind of a based off of the past year type of thing. So without further ado, it is the S to F ranking. As you can see with the different blocks that we have, the columns. S tier is going to be reserved for the GOATs. A tier is main event level. We got the above average level in B tier. C tier is that middle of the road. Obviously, there are 3 higher, 3 lower. That's the whole point of the middle of the road. Just average, not necessarily bad, not necessarily good. Below par for D tier. We got jobber status on E tier. The complete drizzling shit was, I believe Callum was the one that had named that one for the F tier. And then the no opinion one is also, just no opinion. So 45 women to break down here, and I think that one of the easiest things for me to start off with, at the very least, is to take somebody like Ty Mello. She has been completely inactive for the past year, so not knowing how she is going to be post-pregnancy, I would put her in the no opinion column right now. What do you guys think?
I think we know enough about. Well, I think we know enough about it to rank her still.
Okay, then in that case,
I put her middle of the road still.
Yeah, on the roster, she's C tier.
All right. That is how we're going to do this thing for the debate style. For anybody who has not seen previous episodes and previous like Mount Rushmores and different things that we've done, it is going to be based off of like a 2-to-1 type of vote. Obviously, if all three of us vote for something, then that is what it is. But when it comes to the tier list, if we were to have like, you know, somebody with like a B tier, somebody with a C tier, and somebody with a D tier, we'd probably mix around with the C and that kind of thing. I'm fine with Ty being in that C tier. I always like to establish some kind of an S and an F somewhere around that range as well, to give us like a breakdown of how we can do that best. I'm going to get rid of the Dr. Britt Baker DMD thing, because that's unnecessary to have that extra thing pushing the columns forward. Is there an S tier that you think that we have on the AEW/ROH roster right now?
Athena.
I don't know if I'd go S for Athena.
I think given the roster that we're ranking, yeah,
I'm going to defer to you guys when it comes to ROH for sure.
I think it's one of these things that it was a mistake to not have Billy Starks win the title. At the moment, they should have. The last time they fought each other, and now they're trying to extend it out for another year. And I think Athena's kind of star power has tapered off a little bit as a result of that, just because it just feels that this has been going on a year longer than it should have been. So I would be more likely to put Athena into an A bracket. She's still definitely top level, but I don't think that she's an S tier right now.
I'd be down for the A tier on that.
Whereas I think that an S tier, at least from my perspective, is Willow Nightingale.
You will never get an argument from me about anything positive regarding Willow Nightingale.
See, I don't know if I would go S tier, but I also don't know if there's any S tier. So Willow is definitely high up on the list for me, and I would put her in that top range, either A tier or I guess maybe an S tier. I can't think of anybody that on this list
Cheetah.
I would necessarily rank higher than her.
Cheetah.
Cheetah, I wouldn't rank higher than Willow right now either.
I definitely wouldn't rank Cheetah higher than Willow. I think Willow is she feels like in the same vein. I think she's not quite there yet, but she's in the same sort of trajectory as Adam Page for the men's side of things. She feels to me like she's the protagonist of the AEW women's roster now.
See, this is something that we also kind of have a little bit of a debate about every year when we do this. Is it a tier list based off of just this group, or is it a tier list based off of also the other roster? As opposed to, like, would you rank, say, I don't know, like, eventually when we're going to get to, like, an Abaddon, like, I don't think any of us are going to rank her particularly high, but I would rank her low on this list of people. And then when you throw in the WWE women, I would rank her even lower.
So I'm going to just jump in right here and save you in case this happens to be the miracle podcast recording that gets 1 million views. Abaddon is they, them for you.
Is that? Okay.
Yeah.
So somebody like an Abaddon, or like even when it comes to like I guess I'll put it out for somebody that I guess would be like on the higher tier, like we were just talking about, like Willow. Willow would be either an S or an A on this list. But then if you move her over to the WWE side, I certainly wouldn't go Willow as an S tier.
So I think
then I would go more towards A tier.
At least for me, I'm going strictly comparing them to one another. I can't compare them to the other side because it's just two totally different playing fields.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I would say with like Willow Nightingale's thing, I think there's probably only not even a handful of women in the WWE roster that I think are a better wrestler than Willow Nightingale is. And I also feel like with the right booking behind her, she has a ceiling that's as high as most of the people in the women's roster in WWE as well.
Yeah, I mean, like, she would be an A tier for me if we were to mix these two rosters together, but she wouldn't be S if I threw WWE in there. Now, if we do just the AEW, then I'd be more inclined to maybe bump her up to that S tier, because she is probably my favorite person that they have in this women's division right now. So keep that in mind for anybody that, like, we also haven't done the women's roster for WWE yet, and we can't do both without doing one first, unless we just did it all together, and then that's, you know, it's double the podcast and all. So, like, check the list, everybody. Like, the women's roster right here, we haven't done it. All I've done is I've put a couple no opinions in the people that haven't done anything yet. But the, like, I'll spoil that, like, I would put like a Rhea Ripley towards like the S tier. And then if you go for like a comparison with AEW, certainly not going to go S tier for somebody like Mercedes Moné in AEW. And then you throw in the WWE thing, it pushes everybody up back a little bit. So Willow, and if we strictly keep it to AEW, which I think is probably the fairest thing to do, I'd be okay with putting Willow in S.
Again, you will never get an argument from me about Willow Nightingale.
So that could be 3 votes towards the S tier on there, and let's try to establish an F tier on here. And for the most part, it's going to sound so like bleh of me. Most of the people on this list, I am very like C towards F. Like, I just do not fuck with this roster all that much. So you're going to hear very negative opinions to me on this. But if I'm going to say like the worst of this, I don't know if there's anybody that stands out as like absolute just drizzling shits garbage. They're mostly in that like, I just don't really love them range. But there are a couple of people that I have no real opinion for that I could imagine that you guys would probably know more of and maybe would rank towards that end. Like maybe the Renegades, or maybe
Renegades are good.
Are they good?
For a fucking F tier? What? Like,
are they?
Yeah,
I thought that they were like that. People never bring them up or anything.
Well, they never. I mean, they don't win very often because, well, the issue has been that Charlotte has been injured for a long time, and so Robin's had to be wrestling on her own in singles matches, and so she's been primarily just used as enhancement talent. But they're a good tag team.
Where would you guys rank the two of them? Are they both in the same tier, or are they separate?
I mean, Robin might be slightly higher now because I probably still would rank them together, but Robin has done better. I'd probably rank them both in the D side of things. And that's not saying that they're bad, but they're certainly not like
they're going together.
Yeah.
They need to put them in there.
I think they'll eventually get pushed at some point. But
I'm way more going to defer to you guys on the AEW women's roster, especially with the ROH section, than for me to give my opinions about people I'm not too familiar with. I think we're all no opinion on Erica Lee, right?
I've seen her have like one job match, I think, against Marina Shafir, and so yeah, I can't say that I know her long term. What her overall wrestling ability is based on that.
Yeah, that's fine for now.
Yeah.
Is there any F tier options you guys can see?
I'm trying to think about who I think is the weakest out of all the. I mean, I don't even know. I don't really know if I count like Ashley Dambois as part of the AEW roster.
Yeah, I meant to call that out before we started recording, but forgot.
She's on the list for, I guess, appearing enough times that it became part of the roster, but
I don't recall seeing her for the last like 2 years, let alone the past year.
Oh, we'll take her off. Who cares?
But yeah, in terms of this list, in terms of like who I would think is the weakest wrestler in this group, and I'm someone who's actually a bit like overall higher on this roster. I think there's a lot of talent here, but I would say that the weakest wrestler out of all of them funnily enough, is one of the ones that actually trains everyone, and that's Madison Rain.
The legendary Madison Rain, as she was described on the 0 Hour for this past
I
pay-per-view.
would put her in D.
I'd definitely go no high. Well, D would be the highest I would go,
would be the highest.
But I think I'd lean more towards E, if not F. But there's ones that are definitely at like the far end of it. But I think Madison, I've never been impressed with Madison's work, especially not in the past,
She was a
like
killer queen
10 years ago. So
So everything in
I
E
think
tier?
Yeah, that's probably
I'd go, put it there for now.
Harley Cameron.
I'm a big fan of Harley.
I'm a big fan of her as a character.
I think she's really good. I think she's a good wrestler as well.
Really?
Again, they're good. I think she's solid, but her character work helps elevate that. But I think put it this way, I think she's a better in-ring worker at the moment than Soraya is.
Yeah, I would agree with that statement.
But I'd say Harley's middle of the road.
D? Or
No,
C?
C.
D?
Yeah.
Soraya and D, or maybe.
I'd put Soraya in C as well.
I'd lean more towards D for Soraya, to be honest.
She's still got name value, though.
That's true.
Yeah, but how much of that name value is going to bump her up when her promos are not great, her character sucks, and her...
bumping her up right now, buddy.
I think the promos are pretty good still.
I'm not digging it, but then again, I'm across the board not digging it. So
I don't dig the fact that like she's like in a relationship with a transphobe. That was
I would like that to stop.
Is her dude real piece of shit?
He's just overall not a great guy, but he's whatever. Like
misery loves company. Where do we rank somebody like there's a lot of people that are actually inactive the more that I'm looking at this. Like Ruby Soho's been gone for a while for her pregnancy.
Well, again, we know enough about it to know where she was. We'd kind of position her again. Yeah, she's middle of the road.
She's middle of the road. Yeah,
and most of them will be middle of the road. So
Penelope's been gone for a long ass time.
I could say no opinion at this point.
At this point with her, I'm actually in line with saying like no opinion because I don't think I've seen her wrestle in at least 2 years.
It's been a long while. Yeah, and the other like no opinion ones, from my perspective at least, I think we mostly took care of them, but I haven't seen enough of Layla Gray in a long time that I couldn't give an opinion about her, and I haven't seen anything of Megan Bean.
So she wrestled on Ring of Honor a couple of weeks ago, Layla Gray. Now she's doing the whole top flight thing. Stewardess.
She's a flight attendant who can also land the plane.
And also pilot it as well if she wants to.
Yeah. She does it all.
Yeah. But I know that she's doing stuff because she's the OVW Women's Champion right now. But obviously OVW sucks. So that's not a high bar. I'd say she's E, probably. I've not been super impressed with any of her work, but there's potential there, but I just don't think that she should be pushed to any kind of level at this point in her career. Beyond being a valet. Valet's probably a good spot for her.
From my perspective, she's basically there to be a hot chick that accompanies Top Flight. She doesn't seem to be doing anything else for me.
Well, I, for one, would give her an S, and by S, I mean Spirit Airlines, which is probably a D.
I thought you were going to say I, for one, would give her a D, and it's a different type of chick. So that's a vote for a D and a vote for an E?
I'd go E, so yeah.
I don't have much of an opinion. I'll just go E. We'll try to balance this out later on, maybe if we need to. But yeah, I have no opinion about Megan Bean. I haven't seen a single match for hers.
It's difficult. Yeah, it's difficult because again, I'm not 100% certain. I'm not 100% certain she works for AEW at the moment.
Not working there.
Isn't she technically signed?
That rumor.
I'd say
she was signed. That ended like way earlier this year.
Yeah, but then there was also rumors that like she'd re-signed or she was in discussions with them. But clearly, like she's not. She's right now, just working independence right now. Yeah. So yeah, I think that we can't make any sort of judgment on her. I know that she's good because I've seen her in matches, but like from an AEW perspective, there's no way of ranking her in the totem pole there.
So A tier, B tier, F tier. Not many people that we've. I don't know if I'd go jumping out to me at least.
I don't know if there's anyone that I'd go any lower than Madison and Layla, so I don't know if there's anyone that's actually going to end up in F tier.
Yeah, and if we don't have an F tier, then that's totally fine. We don't need to force anybody in that position.
Don't get me wrong, I think there will be a lot of people in like the C, D range, but yeah, I don't know if there's anyone that's like so horrible. Like there are certain people in WWE ones that's going to be in the F tier, but that's because WWE has a much bigger women's roster.
Yeah, the difference between 45, well, now less than 45 women on the AEW front, and then WWE has, let's see, 78. So yeah.
But if we go for some higher up ones,
Toni Storm's a pretty high one.
So she dances between S and A to me, because I think from a star power standpoint, she's probably one of, if not the most over woman on the entire roster. Again, it's whether you take or leave the character, and as I can understand people that very much dislike the character, but you also would have to admit that a lot of people really like the character.
Yeah.
So
like I haven't been loving a lot of what the timeless Toni Storm character or what she was doing with the Outcasts, that was the name, right? I just almost said Outsiders. I haven't really been digging on that, but I can separate my own judgment from that and go, well, she's pretty definitively the woman on the roster up until Mercedes Moné came in. And I can see an argument for her being S tier, but if not, then she has to be A tier. Like I can, in good conscience, put Toni Storm in B tier.
No, absolutely not. Well, I'd say that I'm kind of happy to go with like Toni and Mercedes in S tier and then draw the line on the S tier, because I think that's probably the three women that you could really argue being in that spot.
I would lean more towards Toni Storm being S tier than Mercedes, because there is a part of me that's just like, Mercedes, as big and popular as she is, god damn, I'm not liking it, and I really don't want to put her on the top.
Okay, so I will land on the spot of if Tony's an S, so is Mercedes.
I see where you guys are going, but I have to put my little stamp of like, god damn, I've been hating Mercedes, but
Mercedes,
yeah, I mean,
is definitely rough on the promo game, but
and her finisher.
That can always be fixed. She has another finisher. I don't know. She just doesn't do it. But I think that at the end of the day, she could easily be challenging for the world title right now, and people wouldn't bat an eye.
I mean, she basically is the world champion, because they've just, Mariah May doesn't seem to matter as much.
And this is where star power has to play a role. She's one of a handful of people on this roster that have really reached the top of the industry in their field, and she's helping elevate AEW, and I think you gotta say she's an S tier signing alone. And even though I've also had some issues with the current presentation of it, she's still Mercedes.
Maybe the S stands for shittier than I expected. So by default, Mariah May cannot go into the S tier, but are we going
she's
A?
An A? I think she's an A.
Yeah, I mean, I'm an R again, that one about her being A or B, because I think that being put in this position where she is now, the world champion, and obviously that kind of just designates that she should be an A tier based on that, but I think that she hasn't really stepped up to the top champion level yet. And again, it's only been a week since she's won it, so we've got to give her a bit of time. But it also feels like they're in a holding pattern before Toni Storm comes back from her little voyage over to Australia to promote the next Grand Slam show they're going to have there in February. So yeah, I don't know. I don't think that she's kind of stepped up to an A level yet, but she is in an A level position. So I guess she probably should go in A tier, but it's a little bit. She's. I think as soon as she loses that title, she goes down to B.
Yeah, I can see that
pretty immediately.
I'd also put Chris Statlander in an A.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
And I
think, yeah.
I feel like she has potential to go up to S if they were to actually seriously push her, but they just don't.
It could be argued she is an S. She's more than a woman. We're ranking
I would say because that match at All Out between her and Willow was. I'd say it's quite comfortably the best women's match they've ever had
in that company, right? Like it's.
Oh yeah, in that company.
Period.
I mean, I'd say it's the best women's match in North America this year. Admittedly, obviously, I'm not watching all of WWE stuff, but the only one that I really hear, the only one I really hear talked about with that is Becky versus Rhea, and I did watch that match, and the Willow and Chris Statlander match was way better than that match. So
yeah, big fan of that Chicago Street fight.
Yeah,
despite the problems, I would also put Britt Baker in A tier.
She's so divisive right now. I mean, at her peak and when she's at her best, she's definitely an A tier. The question is whether she can ever get to that level again. That match with Mercedes, I know you're saying, and you're right saying things about like Mercedes, that she has probably been underwhelming in a lot of areas, but I don't put too much, if any, blame on that match on Mercedes. I think Britt was slow, ponderous. She clearly, the injuries have caught up to her, and at the end of the day, she has suffered a lot of injuries, and like you can't blame her for that, but you can say that maybe her time in the spotlight has passed because of that.
Character-wise, though, she's like one of the big faces of the division, and I think that if you're gonna put certain people, like if Mercedes and Britt, like that match was not good. If Mercedes would have came out of that and just had 5-star matches, then it's like, all right, well then that was totally Britt. I wasn't as big of a fan of the Shida and Mercedes match as some other people were. So I'm like, all right, it's
the match was much better.
Baker had her element that she sucked in that match, but Mercedes has also sucked. So it's like, well.
But I'd argue Mercedes hasn't sucked from an in-ring perspective.
Oh,
I can't say that any of her matches have been terrible. Besides the Britt match, I'd say that match with Willow was very good. Probably the best match she's had, which is not a great thing, but and the match with Stephanie Becker was very good. The match with Shida I thought was good, probably not going into very good territory. That was probably the weakest match on the whole of the All Out card, which is obviously a problem. But I think that it was still good. I'd still put it like as about like a 6 out of 10.
I think the ending really fucked it, but the match itself was much better than the Britt match.
Yeah, it was very clunky, the finish of that stuff. But I don't know how much I put, because I also think that, again, not to just be like the ultra, like holding a shield up for Mercedes Moné or anything along those lines, but I feel like both Britt Baker and Hikaru Shida, I think both Britt Baker and Hikaru Shida have in-ring limitations that have hurt Mercedes' performances in both those matches. Because when she has had the match with Willow, another person that's at her level in ring wise, it was a very good match, one that I think they can top in future matches. And Stephanie Becker in a similar line as well. Like I say, there's definitely more that needs to come out of Mercedes, but I think that not that she's hamstrung by those people, but they're not able to keep up with her, which leads the matches to like kind of fuck up because they're not moving at the same pace she wants to move at.
Well, here's how I'm kind of thinking. We have no B tier yet. I would put somebody like a Serena Deeb in B tier.
I can see that.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's where I would put like Shida and Baker in A, and I'd probably put Deonna in B.
Yeah.
Yeah, Deonna's B at the moment.
I would say Thunder Rosa B as well.
Yeah, I could see that. So kind of like establishing a little bit of a kind of kayfabe-ish, like, all right, they are considered a higher priority at the moment. Okay. And it's like, kind of, these two could bump up at any moment too, but that's kind of how I'd rank them. I don't know if you guys agree, disagree.
I can get on board with those rankings. I say the Britt and Hikaru, I'm not entirely sure, but I think they'd be, at the moment, they're on the lower end of the A tier for me, but I think I can understand them being in the A tier.
And even though she's been gone for a long time, I would think Jamie Hayter would probably be closer to A than B.
Oh, absolutely, she's an A tier, yeah, I would say, definitely.
At that point, I don't think there's any other A tiers on this list.
No, I wouldn't say so either. I think you're looking at like beat down. But if I was to start with the next one that I'd put in the B one, I mean, I say plenty, but there's a few more that I want to put in the B tier. First of which I'd want to put Queen Aminata in a B tier.
I could see that. Yep.
She's once on the rise a little bit. I can see. Then I'd say Julia Hart. I know she's been gone for a little while, but she was positioned in a high up role. Yeah, beforehand.
I would say Billy Starks.
Yeah, I'd say so now.
I would as well.
Yeah. Then I'm probably looking at
that
Nyla
point,
Rose.
I'm thinking that there probably isn't any other Bs. I probably would go C onward for the rest of the group, except for maybe Camille. But then again, she hasn't done much in AEW, so that's mostly based off of her NWA stuff that I had seen.
I would definitely say that at least Riho is B tier.
I would say Riho or Nyla. Like, yeah, they've fallen off considerably, but that's mostly because of a bit of a shiny new toy complex.
And I think also when they're around, because Riho obviously isn't around very often, like she comes and goes, but when she does is there for a cycle, she is pushed to a high level. So I feel like she stays the B tier. And Nyla's definitely at the back end of the B tier, but there's always, I mean, we talked about it in the last one. Yeah, she's always the one that is the first challenger for the women's world title when it happens. So they keep her around for those purposes. Right, then we're looking pretty much probably C down with the rest of these. And there's some of these people that I still like.
A C, like booking is definitely hindered.
The way that Tony feels about Mercedes Moné, I feel about Taya Valkyrie.
I mean,
I think she absolutely sucks.
I'd put her in C probably because she's somebody that she had a lot more promise.
But
Madison's in E.
Yeah,
so that's why I'd be like she's not just.
Yeah, but I would say she's at least 2 levels higher than Madison, even based on their legacy alone.
C tier for Red Velvet.
Yeah, she's women.
Yeah.
She's a women's champion, women's television champion, should I say now? So
C tier for Sky Blue.
Yep,
I would say so.
I'd say
D for Kiera Hogan.
Yeah, D. I think for Kiera.
I'd go D. Yeah. What do we do with Camille? Do we put no opinion since she hasn't really done much?
She hasn't done a match yet, has she? Well, she's had like squash matches.
She's had one match.
Yeah, but it's a squash match.
So it's like if it's based off of NWA, it's different. But then is that really fair?
Yeah, we know she can be good, and she's been presented like a powerhouse.
I would say no opinion because if we're basing it off of legacy, she probably gets into at least C, just given her experience. But I don't want to do that just yet.
Yeah. I haven't seen almost anything of Trish Adora, so that's up to you guys.
She's great.
Yeah, but she's never pushed. So I'd say she has to be D. She has to be D. I'd say.
D, yeah.
Got D tier for her.
Layla Hirsch and Diamante in C.
I'd say definitely Diamante and maybe Layla Hirsch as well. I'd put them both in C. I think
based off of the fact that they had the best Ring of Honor women's match of the year alone.
Neither of them's closer to the D tier for you guys?
No, I wouldn't say so. I think I mean I'm a big fan of both their work, so I think that they're based on their positioning in the Ring of Honor side of things. I think that they would be, middle of the road, and I'd say like because of it's a mix of like how we think they're presented and also how we would want to present them. I'd say they'd be kind of, people that would beat the people in the D tier and the E tier, but then would lose to everyone on top of it. They're just kind of like, the jobber to the stars range type thing.
Where we go, Abaddon? They go in F tier, E tier?
I D or low C.
D.
I couldn't go C.
No, I definitely couldn't either. I just don't think that she's like... I'm less keen on the character because I just think it's a bit too over the top and her ring work isn't improving. So yeah, I'd say D. I'm maybe even leaning towards E, but
I'd go E, to be honest. I haven't seen anything from Abaddon that I've ever been impressed with, ever. Character-wise, in-ring-wise, I've never dug that presentation.
I mean, I don't mind her being in that position.
Ibadan then?
Ibadan.
Yeah.
When's the last time that Yuka Sakazaki was there?
Again, she's just someone who just bounces around to Japan and back, even though she's not technically part of Tokyo Joshi Pro anymore. She hasn't turned up in AEW full time.
The highest I think I had ever personally ranked Sakazaki was like C- D kind of range, because I was never. It was like, all right, she's fine, but never impressive. I don't know what we gave her last year. Let's see if last year
I probably pushed you up.
C. You probably pushed her into the C. Yeah, Kylan King. Yeah, not on the list anymore.
Yeah, I'd say that it's hard to judge her because I to be fair, I'm not watching a lot of like Japanese women's matches, so I haven't seen her for a little while in terms of her performances. So based on what I've seen of her, I think that she'd slot right into the C tier. But it has been a while since I last saw her wrestle, so maybe no opinion instead then.
Yeah, I
have almost nothing to say about Yuka Sakazaki.
Same for me with Emi Sakura.
I mean, I love Emi Sakura still, but I think that it's one of the things that I would reluctantly put her in D, not because she's bad, but because she's never going to get pushed.
I want to see her beat Saraya for the rights to We Will Rock You.
I just want her to be on a Wembley show at some point, even if it's just in like an opening match, just because that's what she just really wants to do. But they're not going to be in Wembley until 2026, and she may not even be employed by the company by that point.
So you're thinking D. What about you, Rob?
D's fine. D
for Lady Frost?
Where are we going? So. She's impressive, but like she's never again. It's one that's probably never gonna get pushed.
If you guys go D, I kind of have no real feeling on it one way or the other.
The little bits I've seen, I was like, yeah, she's fine, but you know, nothing.
I'm a bit cold to the matter. You might say.
Hey, chill out. It's been a while since Anna Jay really was the thing, but at her best, she was a B for the most part. So I think
she's been in Stardom for the last. Yeah, she's been in Stardom for the last couple of months. She was wrestling in there.
She did good in the 5-star Grand Prix, didn't she?
Yeah. So and she did fine. Again, from people I wasn't watching like week to week, but from people that I know that watch Stardom, who I trust in terms of their opinion, they said, "Oh yeah, she did fine." That's probably the best way of them saying, yeah, she was okay. But like, you know, they wouldn't be compelled to bring her back, probably. So, but hopefully she comes back and she's picked up a few things based on the matches she had there. But yeah, she's definitely C at the moment.
What about Ellering? I have not seen anything of Rachel Ellering since she was in NXT for the most part.
She's a D, I think.
Yeah, that's fine.
Because I think that she's solid, but there are limitations there. I think she's a bit slow, but in terms of just like not being able to like go in a gear in certain matches. But maybe she hasn't been given the opportunity because most of her matches are either squash matches or matches that she loses to people slightly higher up the rankings than her.
Mercedes Martinez, I used to like her, but I haven't seen her in a while.
Yeah, she's been a bit
theory
out of it, really. In theory, she would be a C. But yeah, haven't seen her in a while to really justify it.
What are you thinking, Rob?
I said Deary. I don't. One of those two.
Maybe close to D then. Yeah, I'd go close to D then. Maybe she's in like similar thing of like Emi Sakura is like this. Yeah. This veteran that's like on her last kind of run, and will just be there to put people over.
All right, so you know her name. She's going to be the last one here. Marina Shafir. She's
getting pushed now.
She already has more presence now than she ever did before, so she's doing better in the past.
I have to ask
2 weeks.
For the editors to say that we know her name, but we don't know her.
No, I just said that I haven't heard.
We know her, but we don't know where she goes yet.
Right? Yeah. She got rid of the stupid hat. She's looking more like a badass, but I don't know.
Presentation because she's gonna be in the main event angle. Like it's weird when you get cases like this.
So someone who is watching like Ring of Honor a lot, well, I say a lot, but like bits and pieces from week to week, she's gotten better in the ring.
Yeah.
she's improved. Like, and again, a lot of her matches are squash matches, but she's been a lot more innovative with her submission stuff. She's got the new finish, which is the Mother's Milk, which essentially is like a sleeper hold, but holds it close to her chest, so it makes it look like she's,
great name.
It is great, and it's and yeah, this presentation now with part of the whatever this new iteration, the Blackpool Combat Club, or whether they're calling that, whether they call a completely different name, is promising for her. And I think that she, like, clearly Moxley is behind her, and Moxley's a good ally to have behind the scenes.
I think that's more than accurate to say.
Yeah. So I'd say that she's a C right now, because I think we need to wait and see what the overall presentation of her and how she's booked in the AEW women's roster. But based on what I've seen of her stuff in Ring of Honor for the last few months, she's definitely in the middle of the road now. She's definitely not on the bad side of things. Again, don't let her kind of.
It's amazing what presentation can do for you. I think that has to be said, though, because it bumps her up tremendously. She's working with Jon Moxley and going to be in a feud that also involves, to some degree, Bryan Danielson. All that to say, she definitely a C.
Mm-hmm.
So C tier for Marina Shafir. What a massive bump up. She, I believe,
probably E tier last time.
Let's see.
Yeah,
she was E tier. So that's a big step up.
But that's what happens when you get to know somebody.
Well, now you know where these are. Anybody you guys think we should move around?
No, I think I'm comfortable with what we have.
Yeah, I mean, the only things though that I like, just from a person perspective, I'd want to just put Emi Sakura in C, just because that'd be nice. But I think that realistically, that's where her position is right now. And yeah, I don't really see much else need to change. I think we've got the three women who are kind of like the beacons of AEW's women's division in one way or another, in the S tier where they belong. And yeah, I don't think that there is anybody that really fits into the F tier at this point in time for their roster.
Which is a great improvement in its own right.
Very cool. All right. Well, that is the first of 4 roster tier lists that we've got going on. So if you want to continue to roll along, the WWE section is coming up after we do the AEW men's roster, where there are some, quite a bit more names to break down there. That's going to be 148 names. So yeah, way more than double this. But usually, for some reason, we end up knocking those out kind of quicker, I guess, because we have stronger opinions and don't debate as much or whatever. But let us know what your breakdown is for the AEW women's roster. Where'd you disagree with? What do you agree with? Whatever it might be. Drop your thoughts in the comment section below. Make sure that you check out all of the normal things we've got going on, like the link tree that I always mention. You got amangotree.com and anthonymango.com. Both go to the same link list. Go follow all those things. Follow Facebook and Twitter and all that stuff for Smark Out Moment, Fanboys Anonymous, and Tony Mango related stuff under A Mango Tree. And make sure you're following Robin Callum.
Yep, Dude Felice for me on all the socials. And check out Fightful.com.
Yeah, and you can find me on Twitter at Wigmeister14, and check out the Power Rankings every Saturday on smarkoutmoment.com, and also the Fantasy League at www.fantasyleague.com, also for Smark Out Moment, to see how our teams are all doing.
Okie dokie, everybody. That means that we are out for this part, but as always, check on the next episode, and we will see you then. But for now, this has been another Smark Out Moment, and we're being counted out.